All right, showtime. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I am Alan the artist, and this is an interview with. You like to introduce yourself?
My name is Taylor.
You might want to speak up.
My name is Taylor.
All right. Okay.
All right. So, Alan, the artist. It's like a little pause in between, right?
You can say it together, pause.
No, I'm gonna say it with the pause.
Okay.
More flair. Okay. So, where are you from, and how does that affect your art?
All right. I was born in Indiana, Gary, Indiana, to be exact. My grandmother was friends with Michael Jackson. It affects my artwork in a lot of ways. There's a lot of poverty. I moved when I was like 6 to Indianapolis. I grew up with my grandparents, and then I moved with my mother. So my early childhood years is thinking of my grandparents. It affects my artwork because being a Haitian American, it's hard to explain that because you just look black, but the culture is different. So finding yourself kind of choosing two different sides, I try to place that into the artwork.
Cool. So I guess that leads me to ask, how would you describe your style of art and the way you express that?
My style of art would be, I would fall in the category of contemporary or multi-discipline. I incorporate, sculpture, wood, glass, but I also focus on abstract works that make you think. A lot of black artists do what's called protest art, where protest art is they create an opposition of racism, white supremacy, which is fine, but they never break out of a paradigm of, can you create anything that doesn't counter white people? Can you create something just basically with your mind and not identity based? So that's what I do.
Okay, so since you say that, because that, for a lot of, I know black artists, that's a lot of thing, like that's a thing that a lot of black people, like outside of art even, like experience. So what would you say motivates you to create, like outside of just that paradigm?
The motivation is the spirituality. I don't think a lot of people would say it up front to say that they are a Vodou wizard, which is French for someone that practices voodoo or was born into a family that does voodoo. It is taboo. People think it's evil because they have no knowledge of what it is. It's an ancient tradition that the ancestors did. So me working in that spirituality or that African spiritual system, I can incorporate elements in the art that nobody knows about. I'm in my own lane. Nobody wants to deal with it. No one wants to talk about it. They fear what they don't understand.
Okay, so since you say that, how would you describe your experience in the art community, and what is it like working with other artists?
It's a love-hate. It's a love-hate situation because some people will judge you and look at you as competition instead of a friend. At the end of the day, it's business. And if you like my artwork, you may buy mine instead of his, or you might buy mine instead of hers. So some people will look at you as competition instead of someone that they can collaborate with. So I've had a love-hate situation with it. When working with other artists, it can be good and it can also be bad if the styles is completely different and you're just bumping heads.
Okay, so have you ever been influenced by another artist? Like, have they inspired you in some way that is reflected in your art?
living or dead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I would say Jean-Michel Basquiat. Um, I would definitely say him. People always get his name wrong. They say Basquiat. It's Basquiat. He's Haitian too. I would say his story, his life story was very interesting. To be a wealthy man, but live poor, and then got on drugs and things like that. Being a black artist at his time in a field that displayed racism, I feel like his artwork definitely showed African Americans or the black diaspora in a positive way. So I would definitely say him.
Okay, so how does how do you visualize your art? How do you like what is the process of you creating art?
My process, honestly, my process is very different, based on my feelings and my emotions. You have to be an emotional person. A lot of people don't want to talk about emotions. They act like they don't have them. But in order to create, you have to be emotional. So for me, the process, sometimes it comes straight from my dreams. You know, like I say, I'm into the spirituality. So a lot of times it could be the Lawa, as we call them in other cultures. They say Orisha. If the spirits come to me in my dreams and I picture something, then that's what I'm gonna put on that canvas. It could be just got a bad breakup. I'm gonna put that into the artwork. I'm gonna put that on the canvas. So, yeah.
Okay, going back, you said like you're in a whole lane by yourself because your art is different. So, what is that one thing, or it could be more than one thing, that you include in your art that gives it that exclusive? Oh my god, that separates it from everybody else's art?
When you look at my artwork, I would say it has the brush strokes are very aggressive. It comes at you. Some people would even say violent. My brush strokes are very out there. I'm trying to get your attention. I'm letting you know that this is passionate, and that's typically how I express myself. Not in a violent way, but an aggressive way. When I speak, or I'm not disrespecting someone, but it can come off as aggressive. I don't mean it that way, but that's how I am. And when I create, the brush strokes are more out there and pronounced.
Okay, so has that style or the way you do that, has that changed over time? Like, is it something you discovered along the way, or something like you just like started that way?
I think my approach to it has always been the same. Maybe it could just be the idea of not wanting to be quiet, or being ignored, or being put in a shadow place, that I want to be aggressive and, hey, look at me, hey, look at me. I have something to add to the conversation. Wanting to be known, wanting to be remembered. So it's something in my spirit, and it just comes out with those brushstrokes. It's always been there.
Okay, so obviously you know what message you want to give off with your art, but like you said, like I've seen some of your art pieces in like the art galleries and whatever, and some of them are like very abstract. So when we look at the art as like viewers, what do you hope that we gain or interpret from your art?
I hope it gives you some form of thinking differently. If you see my artwork and you like it, and you start researching me, and you say, wow, this is different, this is wonderful, I like this, and then you research me and you see where I come from in the background, it may open your mind to something that you never thought about. I want to continue the conversation of spirituality. So yeah.
So I guess like my other question was, socially, what did your art explore? What is spirituality?
Yeah,
Right? Okay.
yeah.
So, like I said, I've seen your art before. I've seen like the name like of your pieces.
Mhm.
What like process do you go through when you decide what you're going to name like your art?
Well, I had a professor, right, and we had to write a paper on is art political, and whether we want to agree to it or not, even indirectly, what we produce is political. So a lot of times the name could very well vary within the month. If it's Black History Month and I'm creating something, that's gonna play a role. So yeah, it varies, but a lot of times when I go into making a painting, I've already came up with the name. But,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's like backtrack like way back. Let's talk about you. Okay.
Right.
What like we're surrounded by art. Like everything could be art or looked at as art. So what was that one thing that really triggered the artist in you? Like how did you know like you wanted to be an artist or that you were artistic?
I started drawing with my friend, my neighbor named Victor. We was like in the second grade, and we would, I think what we would draw, I think it was like Dragon Ball Z characters. And back then I was tracing. I wasn't doing it freehand. So I didn't take it serious. But I kept at it. It was something that was comfortable. So I kept at it. I didn't look at it as, yo, I can make a lot of money off of this. I can get rich. I can change the world. I can do this. I didn't see it as that. I started doing shows from the AP classes in high school and things like that. I was known as the dude that walked around with a sketchbook. I had a sketchbook all the time, so they knew me for having a sketchbook. Once I started doing shows, it kind of clicked when I saw that people like this. I'm creating something and other people like it. That's when I said I want to go further.
So that's when like would you say that's when your passion was sparked for art? Or have you always been passionate about art?
The passion was there. It was something that maybe I took it for granted because it was always there. Even just doodling on the piece of paper, in class, but it's always been there. But I started taking it serious once I realized I had an impact on other people.
So would you say art is it a hobby for you, a release for you, or like both? Or what is art like for you? Like what do you get from art?
It started off, I would say, as a hobby. It started off as a hobby. Growing, it started to become, I don't want to say necessarily a release. Yes and no. It felt like if words can't express it, I can paint it. I can draw it. Some people, they're not really good with their words. They can write you a letter and just pour everything into it. If I'm sad, something's going on. If I love this girl and she broke my heart, I can put that into a painting, and other people can also feel that energy. So yeah, of course now it's a business also, but it started off as a hobby. Now it's a lifestyle.
Okay. So how do you create your best pieces of art, or are you that person like, oh, my art is the best? But like, how do you create your best work, like the work you feel is that, like that's that?
That's a hard question. I can look at some of my past artwork and say that's not my best. I feel like every time I do something new, keep going at it, I'm adding a new element. So How can I tell? That's a tough one. I really don't know how to answer that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're about to graduate.
Yeah.
So how did you balance being an artist and a student? Or was it kind of easy? Like
My major is art, so everything with my school career was always around it. Even if I got a little far away from it, taking science and doing math, I still had an art class, so I never left it. So it balanced itself out. So yeah, I never got too far away from it. Sometimes I didn't go to parties and I just drew because I had homework. So I never got too far away.
So do you feel like having art as your major, did it improve your art, or did it like you just work with it, or do you feel like sometimes it like declines you to want to do it because it was like, you know, homework? Nobody likes homework. When you doing something for fun, it's not work. So
yeah.
How did it work for you?
I felt like having homework, that's art. It definitely pushed me, because if I didn't, I probably would have got lax in it and just did it when it was convenient. One assignment I had to draw like 50 hands, like just 50 hands. And looking back on it now, I might could draw 50 hands in maybe 2 hours. But that whole assignment, I'm just doing hands. I'm looking at my hand. I'm drawing hands. And the more you do it, you see the details and everything like that. So it definitely pushed me. It definitely pushed me. And sometimes you definitely need to get pushed. So yeah, if it wasn't for the homework, I probably would have just did it in my free time. It helped me definitely take it more serious.
Okay. So what are your ultimate goals as an artist, and where do you hope to be?
From a monetary standpoint, definitely wealthy, pass something down to my children when I have them. From a spiritual standpoint, I want to be remembered. When I make the transition, I want people to be able to go into a gallery or a museum and say, that guy right there, he was talented. I want to live on in my artwork. And as an artist, you will live on in your artwork. I want children or students, college students, to do research papers. Like when they have a project, my name is on that list as artists to look for. Yeah.
Okay. So what can we expect from Alan, the artist, next?
Next, well, I usually do shows. You can definitely come see me at a show, but as far as the creation standpoint, my next projects are gonna deal with glass. All right, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna be working with glass, not in the essence of making vases and things like that. I mean, actually like shattering the glass and creating faces and images.
That's hard. I had to do that before, so that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so at this point, I feel like we got a nice overview, but shout yourself out. Let us know where we can find you, how we can support you, and where to find your art.
Definitely go to my Instagram at Alan the Artist. That's THA. Somebody took the E, so it's Alan the Artist. My website, www.alantheartist.com, and of course TikTok. I think every platform is Alan the Artist, even on Twitter. So I'll definitely be doing more shows. I'll be putting updates out there. You can always purchase an original. I send prints international, so people are now starting to notice me a lot more. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, definitely on all platforms, Alan the Artist. All right, all right, appreciate it.